Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We just got done listening to a Joy Sparker. We're going to be moving into a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what I need to check out. If you'd like to submit your own special selection, you can find the Linktree link in the description. Today's comes at us from Jonathan. It says the Aristocrats, Get It Like That, from the Boing We'll Do It Live show. The band is Guthrie Govan on guitar, Brian Beller on bass, and Marco Miniman on drums. It took me a second to figure out that drums is they're just drums, but it's got to line up with the alliteration. Perhaps the most talented trio playing right now, and Govan especially, is probably our greatest living guitarist. This entire concert is one of my favorites, so it's hard to pick a single track, but I've probably been into this track the most lately, and it seems to be one of the band's favorites too. Jonathan also contacted me a second time past this and informed me that there was another performance of this on the Culture Clash DVD, and it's a different interpretation of the same track. And he left it up to me which one I wanted to check out. We're going to stick with the Boing We'll Do It Live, but I've included a link for the Culture Clash DVD show as well. If you enjoyed this, you want to go check that one out as well and see how it changes, you can go ahead and do that. Alright, so let's get into this one. And it took me a moment. Brian Beller? Yeah, Brian Beller. The name was a little familiar. When I saw this picture, I was like, that's the Death Clock bassist. So this is going to be interesting. Let's get into this. Yeah, so this time is real fun. We're either in 7/4 or 15/4, alternating 7 and 8. But it doesn't feel like we have a hiccup anywhere. So they're covering up any sort of discrepancy. Ooh, very nicely. Oh, yeah. Alright, we've shifted to a 4/4. We've gotten a bit funky. Dude, those cymbals are placed high. Alright, they're at forehead level, a little over head level. Oh yeah, yeah, the back and forth on the snare, real nice. Yeah, very fun sound right there. Yeah, nice little modulation there in the drums. Yeah, the bass line in this entire section is beautiful. And I love how the bass line is complementing a lot of the guitar melody, not just walking a bass line, but also augmenting what the guitarist is playing. It's gorgeous. Yeah, the hi-hat now laying down the quarter notes. Really interesting to hear that rhythm against what the guitar and bass are doing, rather than just feeling it. Yeah. Yeah, let's open this up. Ugh. Yes! Dude, he is dancing around keys like crazy. Yeah, we move from the cross stick and to get some nice accented snare hits, opening the sound up. Oh man. Whoa. Those are some real interesting intervals there. Yeah, it was really fun hearing the guitar keep the 4/4 time while the drummer entered into an interesting like 5 modulation there. Oh, that delayed accent. Yeah, and this is the opening rhythm, isn't it? Dude, the metric modulation going on here is wild because it's still in 4, but they are just really pushing against that time signature. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, double time it. Yep, getting those really tight metal intervals. Ooh. That was slick.
Now we're getting crazy. Yeah. So cool. All right. Welcome to part two. What do we got coming up now? Ah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot I was doing a reaction. I was just gonna keep watching. Um, yeah, that's going in the folder to watch more of later. Um, yeah, that was phenomenal. There's also some really cool technique going on in there too. There were a couple of moments where the bassist Bryan was playing faster than it looked like he was actually doing. And I almost wonder if there was there's got to be something that was going on with getting double strokes out of single movements. And I don't know if part of it was two finger and like the middle finger is just a hair behind the primary and it looks like a single stroke, but it's like, just the smallest amount of space behind it, so you actually get a double stroke there. Or if maybe he was getting an extra stroke from like the finger versus the fingertip. I don't know. It was some wild stuff, getting some almost like 16th note hits out of a single stroke. It was yeah, that kind of blew my mind. Also, some really cool stuff with the drums, probably just for showmanship, but even there, just at the end, hitting the cymbals on the way up rather than three quick hits, down, up, down. I don't know if that would produce different sounds. I kind of assume that an upward hit doesn't have as much force to it just because of how our arms typically work, but also it's applying force to the cymbals from a different direction as well. But they were so quick, I don't think it would have changed much. It's still just really cool to see that. Allows him to exert less force and get the same amount of speed, which is kind of also what the bassist was doing. So it's kind of cool just to see the efficiency of the group as well. All right, so the music, a lot of this to me kind of feels very jammy. There's obviously a lot of pre composed ideas going into this. I would actually be quite surprised to find out that any of it was improvised. But I do like that feeling of them just being on a stage and jamming and just being that in tune with each other. I've mentioned in the past that I like the concept of jam bands, but usually it kind of falters for me, and that the execution is never as strong as something that might be pre-composed. And I think this kind of fits in that pocket where it's a mystery. There's a lot of strength to the writing that was probably created, probably pre-composed, but the presence of it, there's at least an illusion of them jamming, and I think this works very well for me. Um, Although, like I said, I do like the concept of a jam band, and these people, as talented as they seem to be, at least with Bryan, I know, I know Bryan's fairly talented. Uh, the other two people appear to be very talented, but this is also my first introduction to them, so I don't know the variety, the extent of their skills. Um, but yeah, they seem like a group of people who could create something extremely engaging, and also do it off the cuff. So there's that. But yeah, so it feels very jammy, and I enjoy that. The guitar work, the drum work, the bass work, it is all phenomenal. I don't think there's anything specifically I can go into as far as what makes it phenomenal, but I'm going to touch on a few things. The bass work I already spoke about with some of the technique. Like I said, I'm still not sure how he got those double strokes out, but it is very cool that he has some very high efficiency techniques to get quick notes out without, it looks to be, without providing much exertion. Um, and then the drummer, man, the drummer's just killing it. There are plenty of sections in here that show off not just technical chops, or I should say physical chops, with the speed and precision required to do some of these drum fills. For instance, one of the opening ones, only a minute or two into the track, maybe it was 3 minutes, he was utilizing a fill where every third hit, or every third whatever it was, maybe not a third, but definitely an odd stroke, was a snare hit, which means that his snare hit was going to change hands. Um, so he hit the snare and then do some stuff, and then come in with the left, and then do some stuff coming with the right, do some stuff coming with the left. And that is, to me, that's always going to be fascinating. I don't know how difficult that is for good drummers, but to me, it's always going to be a bit flashy. And as somebody who is at best a novice drummer, it requires some brain work and limb independence that I don't have. So to me, it's always going to look cool. Um, so yeah, and then also, just like I said, the precision of it all. All the fills in here are solid. It is rock solid as far as playing against the meter and the tempo, never being behind, never being ahead, and with all of the tempo, not tempo, metric modulations that go on in here, it is phenomenal to just hear this rock solid metronome in this guy's body, being able to bounce between being in the 4/4. I'm pretty sure the entire song was in 4/4, except for that intro section, which probably could have still been in 4/4. Like I said, I was counting some eights, I was counting some sevens. Um, it could be that the entire thing's written 4/4 and some phrases bleed over or just a little short on a bar, but that when you look at it as a whole, it fits within uh, a number of beats that's divisible by 4, which means you could write it in 4. I don't know. But aside from that opening section that felt a bit loose as far as time goes, the whole song took place in 4/4. But the drums did so many little ideas that pushed against it. We call that metric modulation, where you're still in 4, but you're going to play in something like 3 or 5. And yeah, I even mentioned at one point the guitarist was doing 16th note hits. I think that might have been the tremolo picking section. And the drum went into this five tuplet idea. I think it was. Uh, maybe it was a triplet actually. I think it was actually slower than the 16th notes. Yeah, so I think it was a triplet feel, uh, and just having the guitar keep the metronome at that point with the solid 4/4 16th notes, and the drummer kind of doing this metric modulation, pushing this 3 against 4 idea across the entire kit. Yeah, just so many moments like that where the drummer just enters into a tuplet mode and just really pushes against that 4/4, and it happens often. Like metric modulation is a huge part of this song. I'm not sure if it's a huge part of this band's identity or even maybe this album's identity, assuming all these songs come off of a single album. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. um oh, what? um we'll get into that in a second. I think that just blew my mind. I don't remember where I was. Okay, we're just gonna move on from. So I'm looking through. Oh, because they might not all come off the same album. Or if maybe that's just the way the song is, and maybe the rest of the songs aren't as heavy on metric modulation, but it is quite prevalent here. It happens, geez, 5, 6 times at least in a 12-minute song. So, yeah, you're getting one. No, it's got to be more than that. 12-minute song. That would be one metric modulation per 2 minutes on average, and it feels like they were a lot more often than that. Anyways, I was reading this, and the track list down here, I think it tells the composer which person wrote the song. If that is true, this one was written by Miniman, the drummer. In which case, that would explain some of the highly rhythmic aspects and the metric modulation that happen so often. Makes me wonder if I look into some of his other songs here, if they're going to be similar to that. Now, interesting, at 2 hours and 6 minutes into the track, there is a 2 minute improvisation song called A Very Metal Introduction. I have to check that out because I was just talking about what these guys could sound like if they went pure off the cuff or maybe structured off the cuff, something more like jazz where there is an understood repeating chord progression that somebody could vamp over. No, somebody could vamp on and someone else could solo over, which is that's how jazz works. For those who don't know, the solo sections are not some free for all area. You understand the chord progression for the song. It's typically the same chord progression that the A section is going to be on. If you're coming from the Kamasi Washington reaction that we just got done listening to, you know what that is. Otherwise, jazz tends to follow an AABA structure. The A is going to be the pre-composed section of the song. It might have uh, vocals, lyrics to it. It would also be the one where the catchy hook, the main melody line of the song would be, and then your B section is your solo section. So you basically do like a verse, chorus, solo, and then you finish off on your verse, chorus again. You bring back the main melody. Um, but yeah, the chord progression is going to be the same pretty much in your A and your B section. It's just that in B, you're going to have soloists. You're going to have improvisation over the chord progression rather than um, the pre-composed writing. And they could, I believe this group, this trio right here, could easily do that. They could even probably have more of a complex chord progression rather than a 4 bar progression. They could go for an 8 or a 12 or a 16 even. I could see them really pushing the bounds on it and getting some really interesting, spicy chords to go along in their playing, and then just fall into that. Um, But yeah, like I said, they have a 2 minute improvisation section. I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna listen to the whole thing. So I'm kind of blown away by this. Um, the guitarist obviously stole the show for probably most people. I think the drums did it for. I don't know when I became a drum head, but apparently I did because as often as I was wowed by some of the ideas the guitar was doing, I feel like I did talk about the drums way more than anybody else. I do want to check out some of. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna listen to the whole thing, but I'm interested in some of Bryan's writing, checking out some of his songs. Because this one was obviously more geared towards metric ideas, which makes sense, being that it was, I believe, composed by the drummer. And then the guitarist took a lot of the spotlight. The bassist had some really cool ideas as far as bass lines go, but there weren't really many moments for the bass to be spotlit. They were either sharing the spotlight with the guitarist or providing the chord progression, walking the bass line under the guitarist. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to see if any of the ones that Bryan wrote feature the guitar a little bit more. But I think this was a good introduction for me. I don't think Jonathan knew this going in, but I'm a bit more familiar with Bryan's bass work. I don't think I've heard either of the other two, so having those two in the spotlight was a good way to introduce me to the group, showing me the parts of the trio that I'm not as familiar with. Guthrie Govan, that name is familiar though. I gotta look this up real quick. Maybe it's just the first. The last name's not ringing any bells, but the first name certainly is. And I just, yeah, I'm not cursory glance at this wiki page. I'm not seeing it. Maybe there's another Guthrie that I know. That's not a popular name though. um, I guess soloist on Periphery 2, maybe. I'm not thinking so. Movie soundtracks. He did the guitars for Hans Zimmer in Dune. That's I just got done watching Dune a couple weeks ago, so that's cool. Dang, he is the go-to guitarist for Zimmer. If Hans Zimmer needs a guitarist, he did it. Boss Baby soundtrack, X-Men Dark Phoenix, Lion King 2019. Didn't Hans Zimmer do the uh Batman v Superman though? And Batman v Superman had that phenomenal Wonder Woman guitar line that is just I'm getting way I'm getting way off here. We're working on 7 degrees of Brian Beller over here. Um, yeah, I'm gonna put that into my own research later. I gotta figure out why that dude's name is familiar to me. Where was I though? Oh yeah, the guitar work. Yeah, so very precise, which I mean, any guitarist who's going towards that virtuoso level is going to have that precision. It's not like it's unique to Guthrie, but yeah, just all of his playing, whether it is more of the emotive stuff that he got out of some of his slower playing or just the raw speed that he introduced with his shred, both the stuff that required a lot of neck work and then also the tremolo picking aspect, both arms, just tons of precision and accuracy to them. But I think what was more interesting to me is his use of colorful notes and the way that he just interweaves and moves through key signatures. Not maybe not even key signatures, chords. I think chords is a better way to go about. I think I originally said he was moving through keys, but I think chords is a better way to go about it. Um, yeah, there was some time. A lot of his solo worked within a pretty standard chord progression, and the notes went very well with what the bass was laying down and the notes around it in the guitar solo. But there are a few sections when you can just hear that he's playing some notes a little outside of the chord or the key that he's in, and it really starts creating some interesting sounds, some interesting tones, some interesting relationships with other notes. I mentioned at one point he had some very interesting intervals, which is the space between two notes, and the textures that they create. Being a half step above a note, being a whole step above a note, two whole steps, four whole steps. And then, of course, we can also view them in terms of keys or chords, and we can say, a fifth up or an octave up or a third up. Um, each of them, if you have your root and your third, your root and your fifth, they're all going to have different um, properties, musical harmonic properties to the sound. And yeah, he starts playing with intervals, both dyads and triads, and then even just chordal stuff as a whole. Once he starts getting faster and puts 8 to 16 notes in a bar, and we start hearing these wild pockets of sound with very colorful note choices in them. Yeah, the way that he can just weave in and out of this stuff is it's mastermindful. That's not a word. It's genius. That's a better word. His playing has ruined my brain. I can't think no good no more. Um, yeah, just he's just moving through these keys like a hot knife through butter, just changing them up. And taking one note from here and one note from there and creating these really beautiful soundscapes that sound anything but standard, anything but normal. And I absolutely love it. I've talked about in the past that you can add these spices to your playing. For the most part, you need to stay within a key if you're going for something harmonious, but you can take a note that might not be in the key to add a little bit of spice to your harmony, your melody, your solo, whatever you're writing. The more that you add, the harsher that the dissonance is going to be. The longer you stay on these notes, the harsher the dissonance is going to be. It really works in his favor that he did a lot of this during the shred, because you kind of get the hint of that note in there without the sharp dissonance that can come in from playing it so closely to notes that it does not typically jive with, doesn't really like to be grouped around with. um, and yeah, it's just phenomenal. Phenomenal. The way that it's not even just that he goes through them, it's the specific intentionality of what notes get included or not. Because yeah, I don't know. The dude just got a mind for creative, spicy writing. And he had quite a few spicy ideas in that solo section, and I absolutely loved it. I also love the way that the guitar and the bass, well, everybody played off of each other, but the guitar and the bass specifically had me entertained, I would say, with nice call and response ideas, kind of doing their own thing and coming together to emphasize specific melodic ideas before separating and doing their own things again. The bass and the drum had some really nice, mostly rhythmic ideas that they were playing around with, synchronizing on. Um, yeah, just all around phenomenal group right here. Just blows my mind. And to think this is the Death Clock. I mean, he's not just a Death Clock bassist. He does bass for almost everything that Brendan Small has done. Um, so yeah, he's a pretty good bassist in the metal realm. And it's very cool to hear him here in a little bit more of a lighter, almost jazzier element, more technical element. So yeah, just was not expecting to see Brian Beller here. It's definitely a good surprise, a welcome surprise. And then, of course, just to find out these other two musicians that he's playing with are just as phenomenal. Yeah, this one and the Culture Clash DVD are going into my watch list. I'm gonna have to be checking both of these out. Dang, the time though, 2.5 hours for this concert. That is not a bad thing in the sense that it means I have plenty of stuff to listen to, but I also have plenty of stuff to listen to already. It's just not enough time in a day, that's for sure. Those are my thoughts on the Aristocrats. Get it? Get it like that? From the Boing We'll Do It Live concert. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not. Anything that stuck out to you. If you noticed anything I didn't talk about, go ahead and drop those comments down there for sure. Um, yeah, And of course, like I said, both the link for this concert and the link for the Culture Clash concert will be in the description if you want to look at a completely, not a completely different, I understand it's a different take. It has a more comical section in it, but this one was more varied. Oh, speaking of more varied, that ending was unexpected. I know I already like started the sign off. I just want to mention real quick that I was like really grooving with this jazzy idea for 9, 10 minutes almost, and then just out of nowhere they finish it off with they go into a bit of a heavy metal sound, and I was like, hey, that's Brian's bass tone that I know. But it was also just an interesting juxtaposition of what we had seen previously. Um, and yeah, just a welcome. It makes me wonder what else they're gonna do, what else they can do, and that just makes me even more excited to dive into their stuff. And you can too, like I said, links in the description. Check out both concerts. When you're done commenting, description box. I already said it, in the description box. Aside from the links to these two videos, there's also a link to Linktree, as I mentioned. If you want to submit your own special selection, right there, special selection submission. It uses PayPal. There's a new button there. It's not present in this picture right here, but I also set up a coffee if you're more comfortable with that platform. You can also check out the Discord community. You can support me through Patreon. You can buy some merch. You can follow me on Twitter. You can email me, whatever. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those, and they help the channel grow. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, as usual. We'll be looking at our final Joy Sparker for the week, and we'll be looking at a creator request where I check out usually a smaller band. They contact me and say, hey, check out our music. And I say, yeah, let's do it. So far, it's been hits. I don't think we've had one that really wasn't interesting in some way or another. And two of the bands actually went out and purchased their music. So it's definitely a great way to find new music, especially from newer bands, and for smaller bands to get a little bit of promotion as well and some feedback if they want that. I mean, they're gonna get it anyways. I'm gonna give my criticisms as well as my praise, but they don't have to listen to it, I guess. They could just take the promotion. Oh man. All right, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.